Hello and welcome to Feedback for the week of June 9th, 2010. Something's happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's World Cup, right?
Definitely.
That's it. There must be World Cup fever. I can
because
feel.
America gets really excited about soccer. So that must be it.
Apparently, heard this on the radio, the largest nation in terms of attendance in South Africa is the U.S. I know. I was shocked to hear that, too. I don't know where they get that data. I want to obviously introduce our panel here because we have a special guest, but we are first joined by Jake Gaskill. Hello there, Jake. Fresh off the Red Dead Redemption review. And editorial director from GameFly Media, Garnett Lee.
Hey, Adam. Great to be here.
Yes. I've been on your podcast many times.
And again this week.
Yes, that's right. I'll be on this week for Weekend Confirmed.
It's like a prisoner exchange program or something.
Exactly. It's like furlough. One of us will
Is that
kill
why
someone.
you're wearing a T-shirt today?
Exactly. This is my John McEnroe swearing shirt. Because, well, that's what I'm like the week before E3. Also joining us is Abby Heppy, who's deep in the trenches trying to put together both our shows for, television, working on the web.
I'm just going to do Go Flyers.
Yeah.
See, that's what else is going on.
Oh, that's right. That thing with the, what is it? The hockey?
That's lacrosse, I think.
And I'm from Chicago, and I don't even care.
Oh, that's right. It's your team that, like, sucked forever, and now Patrick Clapping,
I just
everyone.
stopped paying
Patrick
attention.
Yeah. Hockey. I once called it the dark sector of sports, and I got in a lot of trouble for
Terrible.
that. So
From
I will
me.
never, ever say that again.
The dark sector of sports.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who really like it, and everybody else knows the difference.
It means well, but it's just,
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's familiar to other sports.
I will
It's
leave
just not
right
the
now.
same. Okay.
You're big
I had no
hockey
idea you're a hockey fan.
I used to play ice hockey. I was a left wing.
I just
I
thought because it
love
was
hockey.
cold where you lived, and like that was just,
That's all we had.
I thought she was
you
about to
weren't-
profess love for dark sector.
No.
No. I believe that's universal in this room. Jake? Good. Okay. E3 coming up. All of us are going a little bit crazy. I'm like, I haven't shaved. I have a nervous tick on my face. I do wish I could sync my brain to my inbox so that, press releases I don't care about wouldn't actually show up because it's amazing.
I've
who
been
comes out
writing
of the
back
work.
unsubscribe.
That's actually your default. It's like out of office, but instead it's just unsubscribe.
That's a game, people, but I get a lot of press. Somebody sold my email address or something, so I get a lot of stuff that's totally unrelated. So I've just been writing back like unsubscribe.
Yeah, I'm getting it very,
And
very
angrier ones.
Arch conservative newswire's been sending me stuff. I think because they know who I am and they're trying to mess with me. Garnett, are you seeing a lot of just kind of, hey, we're getting excited about this? Like we have a golfer at our booth.
Well, you mean like Gamer Grub sending me a note today too?
I got that.
To by the way, take time out to go to E3 next week. Really? E3? What's this E3 you're talking about?
I guess I'll fit it in.
That's like when Super Mario
Friendly
Galaxy 2
reminder.
tells me to stop playing.
Yeah.
It's like, stop. Just stop, okay?
I'll make my own decisions.
This half day Tuesday thing's really wreaking havoc for me. I don't know. How about you guys?
Me-
I do not like the show starting on a half day.
Oh, you mean so two
On
press
Tuesday, it
conferences in the
starts
morning
Sunday,
and then
yeah.
at noon?
Yeah.
It legitimately doesn't matter because we do like 25 hours of live coverage and we have a stage show. And if it started any earlier, I'd probably shoot myself.
So that's cool. So it works out for you guys, but for us, covering it on a web perspective.
Suck it, Garnett.
No, I know. To be honest, if it went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, yes, it would be much easier because literally I will be at the Sony press conference, close the Sony press conference, get in a car where I will maybe eat a sandwich, and then when I get out of the car, I will walk to a stage where it will already be live.
What kind of sandwich?
I don't know. Hopefully
That could be
one.
the important
You're
part.
assuming,
Hopefully it's a hot
you're
sandwich.
assuming you're going to eat a sandwich.
I'm assuming. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. And you know what? I'll probably
We just
spill.
hook him up to an
I'll
IV
get-
drip halfway through.
That's exactly it.
But you're right. Like the race over there, it makes no sense. It really, I think, undermines the impact of both the press conferences and the big third parties that want to get their games out there right off the bat.
No, it's a good
Yeah.
point. And just, we always like visually what we call the running of the nerds when the doors open
Yeah.
and everyone would flood. We don't, it doesn't have that same dramatic.
PAX kind of took that over anyway.
That's true. It's actually, and because there's more costumes at PAX, and then people fall over and you go, hoo, hoo, hoo.
Fall over, or perhaps
more
Adam
people
trips
get
them.
hurt at PAX, so
Yeah.
it makes better video.
Okay, so in terms of E3, obviously very little news usually comes out, or else it's just suppositions as to what's going to be at E3. But there have been some announcements for games that may get overshadowed by the stuff that will be announced next week.
Yeah, we're getting sort of a slew of games that might get overlooked in lieu of other things. We got. Well, actually, before we get to that, one thing I wanted to get out of the way was just before we came in to record was that there's this rumor going around that Respawn Entertainment, the former Infinity War guys, are going to have an E3 announcement. That's not true. This Facebook account that's being cited everywhere is fake. It's not started by them. A studio that was founded a month and a half ago doesn't have a game to show.
They should have something to show for that.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they don't have a game.
Like
A
that's
level.
one of those things I don't want to hold their feet to the fire on, but
Just so you know, kids, you can start a fake Facebook or Twitter account.
Don't
It'll
worry.
get reported like
Yes.
it's real news.
exactly.
I would like to point out
I'm
that
not suggesting anything.
all of those Adam Sessler, except for Sessler's Soapbox Facebook accounts, they ate me. So if you're friending them,
I've
they ate
been
me.
waiting for a friend request for a whole year.
Yeah, Michael Pachter got really angry at me. I'm like, it's not me. Garnett, who's faking you on Facebook?
Well, we had that evil Garnett thing for forever, and honestly,
That
to
was
this day,
amazing.
That
I still
was
have no
so
idea.
funny.
Everyone always accuses me of knowing, but I still don't know who that guy is.
A lot of people thought it was you.
I know.
A lot of people said you.
I'm not
and
that
then David
clever.
Ellis.
I'm not that funny.
Well, that I can attest to.
Well, at least, is there a flip one, the good Garnett?
Yeah, the good Garnet is just me. I mean, I always use just my regular name because I figured the best thing to do is stake my claim to my real name as opposed
I think
to
we were
something
asking
clever.
if you are
Yeah.
good.
Oh, if I am good?
I think you're. Is he good, Garnett? Is that
I
good,
was thinking more
Garnett?
purgatorial. It could go
I could
either
go
way
either
at any
way.
moment.
It could go either way. It depends on how much I drank the night before, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Jake, any fake Facebook accounts?
No, I think just the
Steve Johnson's.
Exactly. I am Steve Johnson. Actually, that is my other
Sweet.
Facebook account. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
That must get really confusing.
Yeah, but it's fun.
All right. So, okay, I found some level of parity between me and Respawn Entertainment. There's both fake Facebook accounts. And
Hey, there you go.
the comparisons end.
And then
Talent,
move
and then
on
there's
to-
me. Yeah, not working right there.
Then we can do real stuff. Like there's a lot of sequels being announced this week. DJ Hero 2, a game that a lot of people saw at the pre-E3 week, but the details that we do have coming out are you saw DJ Hero, and now there's more music.
Well, it was a game that had such a great kind of solid premise that just didn't always, find its way in the execution. of it.
The thing, so I reviewed DJ Hero, and so the stuff they're announcing for the new game, are just a lot of artists like Dr. Dre, Chemical Brothers, Kanye West, new battle modes,
Lady Gaga.
But the thing is that most of my review,
I just said that so you'd make that face.
I'm just thinking, like, by year's end, all games will have Lady Gaga. I mean, it's just going to be a rule.
I was just wondering with this one how long somebody was waiting to put 2 turntables and a microphone into a press release.
oh, I didn't even put that together.
Oh.
They should have made that. That was.
It's
How long?
a
They were
Beck
just waiting.
reference, kids. I'd like to also
Seriously.
point out, there was a girl I knew back in San Francisco when that game came out. She thought it was 2 green turtles and an ice cream cone.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. That actually is a pretty
actually
good idea
awesome.
for a song. And it made you snarf.
So did they not announce? Did they not announce the big dance act that they showed at?
No, they
Damn it! That's the one that's interesting.
Unless that's who's Dead Mao 5.
Yes, Dead
Okay.
Mouse. Dead Mouse. So Dead Mouse is actually the addition that's
which
interesting
is
about
cool.
this,
Which
which is really
as
cool.
As I pronounce it as Dead Mao 5.
Yeah.
Garnet,
Shows-
you and
shows
I
how much I know.
actually saw, it was kind of cool. Deadmau5 lent one of his crazy, helmet hats.
Yeah.
What do you call them? Helmet hats?
Helmet hat.
Yeah. and
Performance costumes.
it was a nice way to kind of show that his involvement with the game is not superficial, or
Yeah.
at least it's to the point where he's sharing clothing with the developers, and they were able to bring
the
it
thing
over
I'll say
here.
though is that when I reviewed DJ Hero, my main problems were with the hardware, and there seems to be no indication that the hardware is getting any sort of change this time
It
around.
was a little groove right there in the middle. That
I
was
didn't have
always-
a problem with that. My problem was that it felt like there were only a certain amount of tracks in the game, and then they were remixed. And I kind of wish that there was more.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard with the first iteration of a game, but it looks like they're adding a lot more to this one. So
It's like a Gran Turismo mirror level. It's like, hold on, you said there are 48 levels. No, there's 24, and backwards.
Yeah. Oh, and the career was terrible in DJ Hero, and it sounds
Wait,
like
why
they're-
was the career terrible? It's just a progression of songs.
yeah, it was just
To me, the
you're
drawback
playing-
to the game is that DJing is all about what happens on the fly and the DJ reading what's going on in the room and making a cool mix. And this was just following along with some DJ who was in a studio making a mix. So it was more, Guitar Hero that works because you know the guitar games or whatever, or Rock Band, same thing. But DJing is supposed to be more like a on the fly creative
But I
experience.
think that would be the idea too. With 2, now you have 2 turntables that you could actually
Maybe it's
Yeah.
you could
yeah.
influence that shift as opposed to following the.
That would be way cooler.
All right.
so
So
DJ
DJ Hero 3, we just talked about it right here.
There you go. We're just,
Yeah, you
we're
won't
gonna-
get you won't get
we're
that in
gonna-
2. We'll have to wait for 3.
exactly.
We're gonna skip right over 2.
Here's a game with a 3 after it that I was not exactly expecting would return.
Dungeon Siege.
Dungeon
3,
Siege.
with Obsidian, the studio that just keeps getting work.
Yeah, obviously they just put out Alpha Protocol. It's a game. It's a game. It's a game. Later this year, we're going to have Fallout New Vegas, but apparently they're also working on Dungeon Siege 3. Does it look like they've overhauled what Chris Taylor worked on for the first 2?
All we really know about it is that it's 4-player co-op. The environments change with player actions, and Square Enix is publishing it. Because they're, and Obsidian's developing it. I don't know. Did anyone want this game?
Well, I think if you go back to what they did with Neverwinter Nights games, you can see where they're going to head with this. I mean, that's that same sort of isometric view, small characters in the environment, lots of exploration.
Why call it Dungeon Siege 3?
It is interesting. Between the Uwe Boll movie and the only modest success of the first two games, that it's a very recognizable style of game because of Diablo, but you might actually serve yourself a little bit better by actually rebranding it as a new franchise.
Putting a 3 puts a lot of assumptions on that. I don't think anyone that's going to play the third one, but they did it with that. They did with that with Fallout, and it worked out fine.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it worked out just
Yeah,
dandy.
actually.
But he uses a better adjective than fine.
I'll say this: Obsidian seems to be able to do much better when they're using someone else's license.
That's exactly the conversation we've been having around the office.
So, I've taken a lot of heat for, I talked about Alpha Protocol last week. I guess we can talk about it some more this week on Weekend Confirm, because I honestly don't see what some of the people who are, trying to find the gem in the rough experience there is. I mean, if it's that much in the rough, maybe you should try some of the games that are great and enjoy those, or
because that sense of discovery when you put your hand into the big pile of dookie and you're like, look, I found a quarter.
It's not that bad.
I'm getting a snack.
It's not that bad.
I know. I'm just having an
touching
experience
your
I had
hands
2 years ago.
Like Diamond.
I think I just dug myself into that Alpha Protocol again.
I mean, maybe that is true. Maybe when they're sort of alleviated from, I guess, half the work, and they have an established template to work with that allows them to sort of play to their strengths, which is the story. And everyone, to Alpha Protocol's credit, everyone always has the conceit of, well, the choice and it seems really interesting in that game. So it seems when you kind of take the tech side and the concept side away from them and just focus on
I mean, it's and I have to say, Fallout New Vegas. I only saw a small portion of it, but what I thought was just fine. That looked like my Fallout, but just with more stuff in it. Which
I'm all for that.
Another game that got announced.
Red Faction Armageddon, which we've been hearing about pretty much since that for original game sold better than THQ was expecting.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest surprises last year, with the other THQ game being 50 cents game. So they do have surprises.
Yeah, and Red Faction Armageddon is essentially more Red Faction, except it's underground. So it sounds like what they're doing is that I remember when Red Faction Guerrilla came out, it was like, it was cool that you guys destroyed the buildings. It was really cool, but man, I wanted to destroy the environment around me, and it just seemed like such a missed opportunity. And every time I talked to them, they were like, "Well, it's not that we didn't want to do it; it's just that we could only build half the tech for this game, but we want to do that again." It seems like with Armageddon, they're going underground. They're going to be able to kind of fuse together the building destruction and the environment destruction, and that sounds really exciting.
Sounds like also, because I saw a presentation a few weeks ago that they kind of were talking about how they're trying to motivate the destruction, whereas the destruction was really fun in Red Faction, but it just kind of came as kind of an ancillary aspect to trying to do those missions, which in and of themselves were not terribly compelling.
There's a dark presence underground.
Oh, that's right.
See,
it's coming after you.
The story was the worst part about Red Faction Guerrilla. The open
what
world.
was the story?
Exactly, and so
save Mars from the boogeyman.
I hope you won't remember we were looking for an answer.
I'm getting the sense from Armageddon that they're going they could have gone in 2 directions after Guerrilla: was make the story less serious and just focus more on the fun open world elements, or go really serious. And it seems like they're going really serious. And
also in the new trailer, it looks like Dead Space.
Well, that's going to...
Really?
Yeah.
It looks exactly like
Dead
Dead. It's like Dead Space and Doom mixed together. There's actually like a
Dead Space
necromorph.
looks
There's
like
a scene.
Red Faction. It's crazy.
No,
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Okay, I'll say, if things have monsters, I just like it. I mean, I just like monsters. I'm still that
more
kid.
than fighting a military faction.
Yeah, it's just, because there's usually visual creativity. And so, I mean, I think no one should be going into a Red Faction game thinking that we're going to get a reinvention of narrative, but they do have the good tech, and there might be monsters.
So do you like the Dead Space? Do you like the Dead Space monsters?
Yeah. I mean, because if John Carpenter's the thing, it's like I've always wanted to see
Yeah.
kind of a gaming realization of that.
They sometimes strike me as a little too hodgepodge.
What was the
And then they all have those spider limbs with the pointy ends on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think if you have an amorphous monster, you cannot extricate. It's like what fantasy is to Tolkien. Is that kind of creature is to John Carpenter's The Thing.
All right.
That could be the only sound
Do you
effect.
practice
I would
a
love it.
balloon dying when you go home?
No, it's a monster going. Not a balloon dying. That's sad. Okay, 2 more games.
Another Guitar Hero, Warriors of Rock. Seems like they may be going back a little bit more in a metal
And
direction.
jumping the shark.
Okay, so the big hook in this one is it's more songs, an evolution of the last Guitar Hero, but their hook this time is that essentially they're making sort of a quasi RPG quest mode out of Guitar Hero, which Does that sound Jumping the Shark? I think that sounds more interesting than just another song full of discs.
No,
Yeah,
you just
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, forget those songs and playing songs in a band game. Forget the songs.
Yeah, you open the game box and it's just full of discs. Full of discs.
There's nothing on them, but now you can
Just
build a fort.
It's just CDR, so you can pirate your own music.
Dude, I don't know.
wow.
Seriously, that whole thing of like they're going, you play the characters until they turn into their powered up version, and they like sprout spikes.
I mean,
off
okay,
the side of their
I haven't seen the
arms
game, but if I'm imagining like sort of Puzzle Quest with Guitar Hero, that sounds pretty awesome to me. I doubt that's what this is, but that sounds pretty rad to me.
That actually sounds pretty rad.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I saw it. I don't know if it's really moving into what your idea is, but that's a really
That's
good
what everyone
idea.
always,
Then
that's
again,
what everyone's
like,
wanted from
My least favorite part of the previous Guitar Heroes has been the like the kind of battle mode,
Right.
Where you're hitting. It's not really my thing. I just like to play the songs and stuff. So it would worry me if they were going the Puzzles Questy combined. They would use that, and I don't like that.
I'm with Abby on this. I just like to play the songs, and you
Yeah.
know what? Discs full of songs, I'm in.
Yeah,
that would be the
I
right
am
way to
too.
do it.
I'm definitely
Well, it's not
going
like
to
you
play
won't be able to
it.
do
That-
both.
I know,
the
but
songs aren't
but-
going to change if there's a more interesting single player mode.
The rest is distraction to me. Really, just
I
distraction.
don't notice. I mean, that's the thing is I don't notice anything that is going on the screen except the note chart. That's it. I mean, I can't pay.
No,
attention
it's
to
what
anything
you mean.
else.
It's kind of like a hamburger with a lot of extra stuff on it. That just means your meat might not be that
They could
good.
have never
I just
added
want my meat.
graphics to
I
any of
just want
those games, and I
great
might not
analysis.
notice.
All right.
Have you seen my game face? It's just like
I have seen your game face.
So
It's
the
terrifying.
final game. This one makes me happy.
Infamous 2.
Yay!
Yay!
Finally. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the surprise success, I think. Not surprise, but I think Infamous did a little bit better than everyone was sort of expecting.
And it did have a cliffhanger enough. Like when it set up who Cole really was.
But
and
I
who
think most of us probably be surprised that Infamous 2 is coming this quickly before Sly Cooper, which they've been hinting at for years.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
So could we get both? I hope so.
I hope so.
That would be like
You know what? I would love like more of these HD remakes. Sly Cooper would look real good.
Yeah.
Sly Cooper,
Just-
Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank.
Just
I
up
would love that.
it. Just
please.
money.
Oh, with all the 3D stuff coming out, you know that they could make the third one.
Sly
with the
Cooper
3D.
in 3D.
Remember,
That
Sly
would be
3
rad.
was in that crappy 3D.
Yes, and they came with the
and
glasses.
it sure
you
as
had
hell
to-
didn't work. So I'm glad there's
No.
a good game instead.
It actually made
So-
me really motion sick.
Well, that
That's
3D
because
is
you're going like
terrible.
this when you're
Oh,
playing
man.
it.
We've had great Ratchet already this generation, though.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we've already had great Ratchet. I think Sly, part of the thing they have to look at there is okay, so Ratchet has still been coming out, and it hasn't reconnected so well with the audience. I mean, to ask those guys, Ratchet has been a great product here on PS3, but they haven't seen that connection with the audience that
Because
they had
they're
before.
releasing it the wrong time of year.
think?
Remember,
Yeah,
the first
October is
Ratchet.
a terrible time
fact-
for that game.
But we
First
say all the
Ratchet was-
time you can go year round.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think they might as well drop it like in a March or an April when things are a little bit softer. It can get more
Spring or-
attention.
spring or
and
summer
you're not
is-
going up against Call of Duty and
Yeah.
usually one other major Sony product. I think the other is didn't the first Ratchet that was like 3 years into the PS2. Where I think it had a fairly vast install base, and so you saw sort of a variance in terms of age and gaming interest.
Well, and it had been a while since we'd seen like the glut of character-based platformers that plagued
Yeah.
like the PS1 era for its entirety, and then
Right.
sort of disappeared in early PS2. So,
oh,
the fact
Voodoo Vince.
You're not clamoring for a Spyro remake?
that if Insomniac did it,
Well, yeah, okay, well, so there you go. But they
I
don't own
think
that anymore.
It should be an adventure where he finds hands so he can do something.
No, I want Skull Monkeys to come out on Xbox Live more than anything in the entire world.
ooh, the
And
music
Voodoo
for
Vince
that-
was way underrated, dude. That was actually an entertaining game.
Well, I still see that as the game that where Microsoft said, "Let's do Voodoo Vince instead of supporting Psychonauts." So I've always
Well,
had this kind of like, "Ugh."
Okay.
It was,
Fair
but it
enough.
was a nice environment. At least they didn't publish Torque.
Ooh.
I remember that.
Whoa.
Yeah, remember that? Remember there was like that one E3 where it's like, "Hey, you want to see the special presentation of Fable?" 5 years later, it came out, and then
There was also
presentation of
Azaric.
Torque and
What was that game
Psychonauts.
with the blue dragon?
Azaric. Or my very favorite, Brute Force. It's kind of like the saltine cracker of games. It's something to chew on.
But don't worry, it had the Halo controls,
Yes.
which is their whole selling
Yeah, I
point.
know.
It's got the Halo reticle.
If only
We're
they
drawing
had
a comparison we can't win.
Yeah,
if only they had a beta to drop in there, it would have been a big seller.
about it.
Okay, so from that wonderful walk down memory lane about some of the stranger decisions in the original Xbox's history, let's talk about what is, I hope we're all in agreement, or if we're not, that should be interesting. A remarkable game that just came out in the first half of this year, and that's Red Dead Redemption, reviewed by Jake Gaskell. You had to review this puppy in what, 72 hours?
sounds about right.
It was kind of a beast. I mean, and
So
you came away even with that amount of stress, like really, really liking it.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, it's a fantastic game. I mean, it's one that you don't any kind of open world. I had to do Just Cause 2 kind of on a short time scale as well, where you don't want to rush through. But thankfully, with Rockstar games, you can kind of get through the story. Whereas Just Cause 2, you kind of had to do all these missions to kind of unlock stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was tough to kind of stay focused on the story because the world is so
Rich.
unbelievably
Yeah.
engaging that I just wander around in the rain. And
Now,
be fun.
were you a fan of Westerns?
I am. I'm a
Coming
huge
into
fan.
this. And, like everyone else?
Me.
Western?
I'm not really one way or the other. I certainly didn't know I was going to be as big a fan of Westerns as I am playing this game.
Or is it that you're a fan of Westerns or just a completely different environment for games?
Not different just for the sake of different. I think that here what they did is they created such a well-considered and whole experience that you get drawn into it. I mean, if this was, I think that it's sort of that BioShock effect, like when you got into Rapture and you were really pulled into it and everything worked, whether it was the music or the detail elements that are around in the world or the backstory or the characters, it all kind of came together very well. The same thing happens here.
Yeah,
And I think the biggest compliment to the open world is that I don't fast travel very, very often.
Yeah.
I do it every once in a while when I'm trying to rush through story sequences, but the fact that I know something interesting will happen on my way to something and that it doesn't really take that long to get there. I don't know, in Grand Theft Auto 4, I just started taxi.
Yeah, I think
I had
Well,
no interest in
and
exploring
because
that
the
city.
driving itself
Was
could
awful.
yeah,
Pain in the
because
butt.
I mean that's the thing is that it's using some of those weird controls that really do feel of the last generation, but they don't impact the gameplay nearly as much because there aren't like horses, like 3 horses astride you every moment of the way as
Right.
you're going through the
And
game.
if you tap a cop car, all of a sudden you've ruined your way on the way to a mission.
It's a very well considered, not just in the environment, but in many aspects of the gameplay. At least if they said, "Hey, if this is our control scheme, then we're only going to take it this far. We're not going to try to use this and try to make the player do something with it that it doesn't want to do." Despite the fact that still trying to run through a doorway really fast sometimes.
Oh, God,
it still is very sometimes when you're just like trying to get up a stairwell.
Oh, you go,
it's
like, back and
it's
forth around the front of it?
difficult.
Like-
I had the first
that.
like race that you do around the McFarland's rant. There was just one bridge, and every time I would go up to it,
Yeah.
my horse would veer off and fall off the cliff and die, and I was just screaming. And then I found out it happened to other people too, but it took me like 3 tries, and I even knew it was coming, and I'm like, walk in the center, horse.
Or how many
one time
times
with
I've hunch up or like I'm like in cover and I forget to I hit it and I don't go out of cover, so I just end up circling the rock like 6
Okay,
times.
that's really funny when you
Because
do
it's
that.
such a
There's some
cool
control.
Western setting, I really wish that there was like a camera option so you could actually see what you look like from the bad guy's point of view. Just like, that John Marston went kind of crazy over there, moving back and forth behind this rock. We just kind of referenced GTA 4, and there are so many obvious reasons why you want to draw a comparison with Grand Theft Auto, made by the same company, if not the same, but not the same studio. Obviously, it has a lot of control schemes. But at the end of the day, is it, despite the open world and the controls, is it really sort of in that same family in Rockstar as Grand Theft
Definitely.
Auto?
Yeah, to a fault, I think. I think they, I am really, really enjoying Red Dead Redemption, but a lot of times it feels like it sticks far too close to the Grand Theft Auto formula, like to its own detriment. Like in the mission structure, this game is way too long. Like the second act is pointless. Mexico is great to run around in, but nothing happens. The story doesn't pick up till Mexico finishes, and then all of a sudden you realize what you were doing in the first act. Like it's just, and I like 3 or 4 different train robbery sequences where I'm just mowing down 60, 70 enemies. Rockstar does this with, at least I felt it the most in 4, where it's just, the game just keeps going and going. And I find myself doing the side stuff because the stranger missions were far more interesting than the actual story missions.
And, yes, I'm going to get to the Stranger missions in a second because, they were absolutely phenomenal. But the one thing that I thought helped alleviate what I found was a real sense of fatigue in Grand Theft Auto 4 was that the story was paced better. I think that by using the Western with a slower burn, it's like, I can see it building. Whereas with Grand Theft Auto, it's like, there's so much histrionics from the get-go that like by the end I'm like, shut up everybody and just die. So
Well, I think they sort of enhanced what they were doing storytelling-wise with the 2 episodic content pieces, especially
the best
Ballad of
parts
Gates.
of GTA.
Yeah, because they really learned how to keep things on point with following the storyline of an arc and not getting too distracted with side events. GTA 4, you had, like you said, so many different factions pulling you different ways. One minute you're with the Irish guys, one minute you're with the Italian gang, next minute you're like going over to go, mow down some guys for for the rap guy, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
I forget all those characters' names now, which is also sad that we forget those characters' names because it should have more impact. I think the thing about Red Dead for me is that when I'm playing it right now, I'm playing it more like on my own pace. So I have like 21 hours in, and I'm just now at the end of the first act.
Oh, wow. I mean, no, it's something similar happened with me that, I so love being in that world that, after I did a couple of missions, it's like, ooh, I don't want to waste any time. So I would do as many of my like picking flowers and that. I then found out over time that those were getting so challenging and I wanted to get back to the story because I was like, hey, this is, it's much better writing, I think, because it's more sincere and it's drawing from a kind of a style of narrative instead of, I think they kind of invented a narrative for what they use in Grand Theft Auto 4.
I think like the biggest like difference between GTA and Red Dead is that the character is genuinely likable.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He
I
doesn't
liked him.
hook up with prostitutes. He's only doing it to save his family, which is a real difference to other GTA games where like if you don't kind of like get the joke of like how evil the guys are and that you're supposed to kind of be along for the ride, it can be very like off-putting to a lot of people.
For once, Adam was good in a game.
I actually wanted to play it good. I mean, I love Westerns so much, and at first I thought I would do evil bad guy Western. I'm like, I actually kind of want to be a hero because this is like exactly the world where I would want to be a hero. It's all by myself. I get to make my choice. I'm going to go save the family. On that, I would like to actually read a comment from CARTERHALL. Oh my God, someone actually uses their name?
Maybe. I don't know how to
I can't see if
Could
it's
be a
pun.
fake name.
I don't know.
trust
Maybe.
it.
If it's a fake name, what's the real name?
I don't know, as a future as like a car dealer, that's come on down to CARTERHALL Chevrolet.
It's the Hall of Cars. You should know. I'm Carter. What he says is, my one problem with the game is the honor meter. Not only does it betray the character of John Marston and the overall theme of the game, but it feels contrived and gimmicky. This trend of morality choices only works when there is an actual moral choice, not, to give an absurd example, should I leave this person to die at the hands of a cannibal or not? I wanted to bring that up because we were just talking about how good a character John Marston was. It was weird having the honor meter and not seeing it have any real relation to how that character developed through the course of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, the only time that I actually did anything that was dishonorable was by accident. Either my gun would
accidentally
target
pulled out your
somebody
gun,
would target somebody that it shouldn't have, or
And I felt guilty. I'm like, I saw some people running to help someone. I thought they were the bad guys coming back for a second
did the same
round,
thing.
and I shot him, and it was like, oh.
I will say the one time I decided, I think most people probably play a good character in Red Dead, but the one time I broke character was the side quest, and this is probably my favorite side quest, the one in Mexico where you become an accidental drug mule.
Yeah, yes, I did break mine too.
And so it was, and you carry the guy, you carry his $1,000, and you don't have to finish the quest. There's nothing except for you're like, and it's one of those cool Rockstar commentaries on gameplay that you don't have to finish the quest. There's nothing about the quest you have to finish.
Have the money.
You can keep the $1,000 and go spend it. So I took it back, and the guy explained. I was like, well, I want to get the honor points or whatever, and so I gave him the $1,000 back. And he's walking away, and like I just happened to be walking in his direction. I felt dirty about the whole exchange, and he goes, "Get away from me, Marston. Our work is done." I was like, you. And I pulled out my gun, shot him in the face, looted him, took the $1,000, used a pardon letter from my previous mission, cleared my name, and just went on with my business.
I'd like more
I
of
gave
that.
him the money, then shot him in the face.
That stuff was fun. I actually lassoed him in town, put him on the back of my horse, drove out to a remote area, put him on the ground, still hogtied, and shot him in the head.
You're really role playing this one.
So I actually did one of the, those random missions that pop up where there was like some guys escaping from a marshal, and I brought them back hogtied to the marshal, and he's like, "Thanks, buddy," and pays me, and then he turns around, pulls out his gun, and taps him right there. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Now, I was trying to figure out, do you think that was progressive from the AI, or do you think that was always going to happen if you did it?
Whenever
couldn't tell sometimes.
lawmen are chasing people out in the world and you like stop and you help them and like you capture the criminal, they always come up and shoot them.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
And then John Marston's like, "How'd you guys ever become cops?" Like,
I think it's interesting to hear all of you guys talk about wanting John Marston to be a good guy the way you play him, because I'm buying into the background of him not being that great of a guy, but having decided, okay, I mean, sort of, I almost see him as like that guy trying to break out of the mafia in the 30s, who's decided, okay, I'm getting out of the game, but now the government comes in and says, okay, you want to get out of the game, you got to go do this for us. So I see him as like, there's times when he's dealing with that stupid snake oil salesman or whatever, where I'm like, why the hell is he still putting up with this
I think
guy?
they make
I would
it-
pull my gun right now if I could and shoot this guy and just go get on with it.
I think that they make it very clear, especially as you get into the later chapters, that he viewed himself very much as a Robin Hood sort of character.
Yeah, they keep
like,
bringing that
against
up.
the
That's-
man.
it-
like,
it-
fighting
it-
for-
it- it-
they go,
it-
but they really try to
You
drive
have
that
to get,
home. In, like, the
like
third
I said,
act.
third act is
Yeah.
where all the stuff you want to know about his background, like that doesn't happen until after you finish the second.
And do you
which
buy
is
into
weird.
it after all that?
Yeah,
But
they
Yeah,
make it
yeah.
But no, but
confusing,
that's
man.
the Rockstar problem is that you have to wait another 10 hours to get there.
But-
At that point, they've dragged the character development out to the point that you don't want to believe
Yeah.
it because it's like, why couldn't this have happened 12 hours ago?
Well, the beginning of the game, like, you know, the kind of montage, I wonder if there was something a lot longer and more demonstrative of what was happening, because I didn't realize that the feds were holding his wife and kid hostage.
Oh, really?
I just didn't get that out of the beginning.
They don't make his. I feel like if you could have played a little bit of his background or something, a little
I
more
think
setup
that
for the character.
an actual scene of the feds coming and that happening would have added.
Well, because
at
they
that-
would have
that
been
level.
like the opening of GTA 3, where
Right.
it's kind of you see the robbery, you see your
Yeah.
guy get shot, and then it like picks up from there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it took me a while to kind of put the pieces together, and then it was, like, oh, now I get it. Let's talk about those side missions for a second, because
Oh, the Stranger Mission's so good.
wow, there's some weird ones,
bizarre.
Yeah,
and
they
not
really
just
are.
the cannibal one. The one called California is
Yeah, I haven't
quite
done that
simply
one
one
yet.
of the most grim stories that you don't really learn anything, except there were people filled with hope that, as a result, caused their own demise.
Yeah.
Which,
Life lessons.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, hey, I've always believed that there's some danger to hope.
The one that the one
Hey, I bet at some point when he was a kid, someone told Pol Pot he could be whoever he wanted.
It's been a long few weeks for V3 planning, okay?
I'm bummed that there's you can start over pretty much every one of the Stranger quests except for one,
Yep.
and I screwed it up. It's the I know you quest, the one where
so
How'd you screw it
Oh,
up?
that's
That was a
the
good one.
best- one.
it's where the guy it kind of feels like he's the devil meeting you out in the middle of the desert. I
Patrick hasn't finished the quest.
I got the quest, talked to him, and then there was a coyote that went by just behind, so I pulled out my gun. Quest failed, and you can't restart it.
Oh, yeah.
that's too
and
bad.
it's the only one
Like
that you can't.
literally, as soon as like that sounds awesome, and then pulled out my gun. Quest failed,
Yeah.
and it's the only one you can't restart
It's the only one too that you can't do after the game is over.
because
But it doesn't count
It doesn't count to your
towards
achievements.
their
or
No, it doesn't.
100%, But
No.
but I've heard so many cool things about it. I want to start over just to experience that
it's
one
one,
damn quest.
obviously, it's referencing High Plains Drifter. I mean, there's all those wonderful little, references to the Westerns that's not done in the most overt way, except the final reference, which I thought was well done because you kind of knew it was coming
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it hadn't been referenced yet. I'm preserving your
Excellent.
your experience
Good work,
there,
sir.
Kurt
Good work,
Garnett.
sir.
But also it's I don't know. They seem to also serve to add this level of weirdness and almost discomfort to the game, where there's something a little bit more traditional about the main narrative, and then you felt this almost instability to the world when you ran into these characters. I was just
The Wild West is messed up, and it doesn't get to that point so much in your story. But
Yeah.
like, there's some weird stuff
Like
happening.
the
Yeah.
grave robber whole sequence.
Oh, that was
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Madness.
Yeah, I mean I don't
What,
think that they sat around.
they're not going to miss
researching.
it. They're already dead.
That's true.
Yeah.
He makes a good point. You can't argue with
He
the
makes,
grave
he
robber.
makes a good argument there. It's pretty
and
logical.
the thing is that the Stranger missions only reinforce that I really hope that Red Dead has the same sort of expansions that Grand Theft Auto
Yeah.
got.
Wait, I
Because-
thought you just said it
because-
was too long.
No, because I love the Grand Theft Auto expansions because they were tight, small narratives in the already built cool world. The world is my favorite part of Red Dead, aside from John Marston. I don't really care for any other part of it. I think the story
So,
goes on for too long.
If I'm drawing this together right, it's not that it's too long as in it's just too long, overwhelming. It's too
just a
long as
bad
in it's
story.
not
It's too
tightened.
meandering.
It's not
Yeah,
tightened
it's
up.
too meandering,
You
yeah.
want someone to come in and
Edit.
tighten up level 3.
Yeah, but Lost and
just like I
Damned
wish
and
someone took-
Gay Tony were 10 hours long. They were perfect. Like, they were great stories that didn't go on too long and ended in fantastic ways. So,
That makes
No,
sense.
it's just like the way that I wish 300 pages were taken out of Stephen King's The Stand.
Oh, God, yeah.
Instead of re-releasing like 200 extra
Yeah.
pages 10 years later.
I never read that book, and then the first time I read it, I was like, oh, I'll pick up the one with all the extended pages.
Yeah.
Oh, my
But
God.
if that's the case, then and as much as you're enjoying the Stranger and side missions, can't you just view Act 2 as a bunch of side missions and stuff to do in the world?
Except that I'm sitting there watching John Marston essentially get led around as an errand boy, and it's extremely frustrating to watch the character be like, show me where Escuela is, and they're like, let's go do a kart race. Like,
Hold on, you don't know how to shoot. Hell, God God damn it! I've been shooting.
I thought it was okay in the first act because you're getting to know
right.
the world. The characters are really interesting. The second act has no like. The characters are all just assholes. Like, there's no. I mean, I don't know.
Fair enough.
The second act is just really frustrating. I love the first one. It seems like the third one's gonna be great too.
Okay, we're about to have an oblique discussion that I know the two of you won't be able to participate in, and we're going to talk around
Okay.
the end of the game. I'm not talking about how the game resolves itself narratively. It does something very interesting at the end that I've always wanted to see a game try, where it doesn't. You know, we were talking just last week about how a game's supposed to ramp all the way up
11,
to the hardest. This does something different, and it kind of reverts to almost how it began. And I think some people were very frustrated with it, but I don't even know how much I liked it. But I love the fact that they tried
I mean, it
to
has
do
like a
that.
proper denouement at the end. A denouement.
Denouement. It definitely does something to help heighten the drama at the very end. And I think it's very, very clever. And I want to tip my hat to them for doing that. I think it will be of great debate. We'll bring you guys back on when you finish the game so we can talk about it.
How long is the third act?
It's not as long.
It's not as long. Well, it is kind of. And then I had other stuff to finish. I went for the 100% completion.
Yeah, you're crazy.
I did. I got it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh my God! It was that last looking at like, oh God, I have 0.2%. What the hell is
So
that?
what was the hardest part to get to 100?
Well, once I kind of figured out the trick to it, because I thought level 10 sharpshooter would kind of be where I stop. It was kind of hard knifing coyotes and bears in the, or not
Yeah, that was a good
coyotes, cougars and bears in the face, mostly because I kept getting eaten by cougars and bears. There was I had a whole system of shooting their legs
Yeah,
and lassoing
exactly.
them and
And
then
then
stabbing them in the face.
But you see, I love what she just described is what's awesome about this game because it teaches you things like that. I was frustrated at first. I was frustrated.
Teaches you how to fight a
you
bear and
what?
stab it.
It teaches you how to hunt.
Valuable lesson.
How to hunt
No.
like that. Because look, it's the same thing as like you're riding along, and a lot of times you come up on these ambushes, which are, you don't know when it's an ambush or not, but you're like riding down the trail, and there's like some lady on the side of the road. The first couple of times I rode up, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what she wants. 3 dudes hop out, boom, you're dead because there's before you can do anything. I realized, wait, in the Wild West, if you see something suspicious, you probably want to approach with your gun drawn. Which makes sense after you think about it.
According to Garnett, I know now
Now
how to
how
stab
to
a bear in the face.
Well, would you rather run up on it, or would you rather shoot it in the legs, lasso it, and then come stab it in the face?
I want to know the set of circumstances in real life that forces Abby to have to stab a bear in the face. It's like some weird, like,
third
Wild
day of
Kingdom
E3.
meets Manhunt.
2 words for you: reality
I
show.
like camping.
Yes. I still am very disappointed when it came to the bears and the cougars and the wolves that there was not a button that made you open up your jacket so you look bigger.
I actually really like that idea.
I just, that's what I was told all my life when I was a kid. And
Did you ever test it out in the wild?
Told all the
Well, there are
time.
mountain lions up in
You've been reading that survival
California.
guide.
Yeah.
And they always said if you see one on the path, I don't know why the cougar's on the path. It's like it's a freaking cougar. It can go where the
It runs faster on the path.
Oh, that's right.
Stamina doesn't go down quite as
Zing.
fast.
That it's just to open up your jacket because their depth perception is terrible, and they'll just think you're big.
And this is why Adam hasn't been
You
eaten
know
by
what?
cougars.
I think between the time that I was told that and you could have been told that, enough kids were eaten with their jackets open that they decided to stop
They
doing
realized,
it.
it was not very
But I
sound
made my
advice.
jacket big.
Okay, I want to read this last comment. I'm probably not going to do the whole one because it's quite long, but it does open with the best sentence ever in one of our reader comments. This is from I Love My Jeep. After
Great
dating a
username.
girl who had horses,
and that's all Adam's reading.
I know horses. I mean, as Garnett said earlier, it sounds like an STD. Like, my horses are flaring up. Oh, they're galloping on. I've come to understand the sensitivity of those animals. Horses' hooves crack. They eat virtually all the time. Every horse has his or her own distinct personality and traits. Rocks are another way to make horses move realistically, but they honestly don't feel real. I cannot recall how many times I felt bad for my horse as I left it out in the rain after a long ride across the desert. Does it bother anyone else when a horse dies? My stomach sinks every time. I want to take care of my horse by replacing the horseshoes and feeding it. That would make me feel a little better from involuntarily mistreating it all the time. Also, being able to purchase a new saddle and tack would have been nice.
That would have actually been nice. And you know what? I see his point because I had
I
a
do.
different. I killed a lot of horses. Oh God! But no, by accident because either I'd fall off cliffs on horses or accidentally shoot them. I don't know. But I have the same. I really like animals, and I didn't like killing animals. And I honestly did not until one point, which I'll tell you about in a second. I did not kill one animal in the game until I was forced to for missions and for that. I just don't like to do it, and I understand because I would have liked to have a horse that had stayed with me, but I got too many killed.
I had one time where I hit up on the D-pad to have the horse come after me, and I hear it make a noise. I'm like, oh, it's coming. And I look up, and it's up on the cliff above me, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to run up to go get to it. No, horse just said, Don't worry, I'll come on down. leaps off of the cliff and just goes up and just collapses onto the ground, dead. Okay.
Oh my god! It's such an act of loyalty.
Yeah, and it just collapses, immediately dies, and I hit up again, and there's like nothing. No, I couldn't spawn another.
Yeah,
one.
you gotta wait.
I had to run to town.
No, the first time.
Allegory.
The first time I actually killed an animal nut for a challenge in the game was I was actually in the third act. And I had to climb the highest peak in the whole thing, and I can see the whole landscape, and it's all laid out beautifully in front of me. It's just gorgeous. It's a really nice, snowy, scene. And I get to the very top, and there's a bald eagle just sitting there, like 2 feet from my face, and I just laughing hysterically. By the way, I whipped out the sawed-off shotgun and just blew the thing into oblivion. I don't know. It was just tempting me.
So you were not good about shooting the animals in the game. You climb a peak to find America's national bird, an endangered animal, because of the hunting of the era depicted in the game, and you took a sawed-off shotgun.
She's actually
Go big.
She's actually crying. She's actually crying now.
Oh my god.
We're gonna get the anti-American action committee up in here anyway.
I think though, just the last comment on I love my Jeep is that I think it once again goes to the remarkable articulation of the world that Rockstar showed, that I over time kind of got used to my horse and how it felt in the game, and I guess I felt bad when
when they had to replace them.
Maybe as part of growing up in Texas, but I think that this would have been a really cool place to do like horsemanship light, because like for instance, the other day we're playing multiplayer and I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing getting on your horse from the right hand side? And everyone was like, what do you mean getting on your horse? You always get on your horse from the left hand side. It's a tradition.
Why?
It's part. Why? Well, really?
Is it like the whole shaking with the right hand thing?
It was an old tradition, and it's good to have a standard because horses, so they don't get spooked, will get accustomed to you getting up on the left.
That makes sense.
But it goes back to medieval times where if you were a swordsman and you're right-handed, you wore your sword on the left, so you wouldn't get up with your sword because it would poke the animal. So you'd get up, put your left side
that
out,
makes
and then
sense.
swing over.
That makes sense.
We just learned something.
NBC's the more you know.
That's a far better idea than I thought of, like my Equus expansion pack that I was joking about last week. So,
Garnett, I'm actually curious to know what you thought of the multiplayer, because I loved it for the first 3 hours I played it, and then I was just,
And there's just nothing to do.
bored.
I'd like to be more directed. I agree with you. I think that's probably why they're already pushing to get these co-op missions out, because it's really fun to make of it what you want to. For instance, we got a posse together and went bear hunting, where one dude would be off his horse with a knife to hunt bear with his knife, and the rest of us would sort of circle as the protectors with our Winchesters drawn to make sure that nothing came up and got him from behind while he was bear hunting, which was cool.
We were jerks, and we would go find other posses and then just sneak up on them and kill them. But then all of a sudden, we'd get into places where all of a sudden everyone who after you're dying were just spawning on top of each other, and you couldn't actually get out because everybody just pulled out their shotguns and then was shooting each other in a 5-foot radius.
Have you tried expert aim? Oh. Have you tried expert aim?
No, I quit after I'd done every mission 6 different times and just
play with a group of friends, make a posse, and use what they call expert aim, which turns off all the auto lock, and it becomes a lot more fun because the pace of the game changes. And then the gang hideout clearings are really fun to play. The co-op stuff is probably the best of it. The competitive multiplayer, I mean, they're better. Yeah. We're going to play Modern Warfare or Bad Company.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thank you so much for reviewing this game, because you did it in 72 hours. You crazy pants. Actually, and Abby's crazy pants too, because she did 100%.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
I want to get to our viewer question from Mystere E. What could it be about? Oh, the old E3. Remember that we were talking about it at the beginning of the feedback, and now we're chatting about it again, because it's kind of waiting around the corner like a horrible man who smells like vinegar that wants to do things.
Like a bald eagle all the way at the top of a tall mountain, waiting for a shotgun.
I shot a bald eagle too. I just wanted to admit
I did as well, because Abby told me about her doing it. I wanted to be like Abby. With E3 coming around the corner, there will be many surprises in regards to announcements or just memorable moments during the press conferences. So here's my question. What is everyone's favorite E3 moment in seeing a game for the first time and being blown away by it?
I got this one before.
I got it.
Okay, Garnett.
Youthful exuberance. First time I played the Devil May Cry demo at the back of the Sony booth, back in the day, because there was just this moment of the first time you do the juggle move and then caught him in the air.
Because that was the first time anyone had really done that in a game.
First time anyone had done anything like that. I played that demo 5 consecutive times over and over and over because I was like, this is so awesome. I want to be able to like completely capture the idea of it. That really caught me.
Anyone else?
Probably. Last year we started with Scribblenauts, but it's very uncommon for these days games to spread by word of mouth. Like, especially through, like, you just see everything before, or there's a big press release or a big trailer or something. But the first time I played Guitar Hero, when it was down in Kensha Hall, when it was not signed to anyone, it was just part of Red Octane's initiative. They were doing this tiny thing with harmonics, and that game spread by word of mouth. Like, did you see this? You play Guitar Freaks? Well, this game blows that thing out of the water. Just tucked away in Kensha Hall. The first time I played Guitar Hero, just like, this is going to be huge. And I was like so excited to see what they did with it. And it's kind of sad to see us like sort of mock, things like Guitar Hero, Warriors of Rock, given where that, the humble beginnings of that.
I mean, it hasn't been that long.
No.
It's been like 2005?
4 years? 5 years now?
Yeah, that's really something.
Yeah.
And it's also spawned a whole second game.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Abby?
My first E3 was 2006, and I went to the Nintendo press conference with my boss, Chris Bianiak, at Tips and Tricks at the time, and I was so excited, and that's when they showed Twilight Princess, and that was incredibly exciting.
That was a big reveal.
That was that was pretty awesome, because my only other one, it wasn't at E3, it was when I was up at EA, and they announced, or not announced, but showed Team Fortress 2, and that was probably, and Gabe Newell did it, and it was probably the most exciting moment of my life, because I've been waiting for that game for like 10 years. So
quite literally.
That was,
not an exaggeration.
No, I had been waiting for that game for 10 years, so that was very exciting. But I think it was, because I had never been to one of the press conferences before, and it was this hugely exciting, and we were in the front row. Chris had gotten us awesome, seating, and we were right there, and it was just.
Sometimes
awesome.
when the fanboy in you and the job suddenly work together in perfect harmony, it's a nice experience.
Yeah.
Jake, what is your fondest memory?
Well, actually, last year was my first E3.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, and I only got to go one day. Or like half a day. So
He's actually
we are sending you
he just
this year,
dropped off some
You
sandwiches.
were bad that year,
Yes.
weren't you, Jake?
I was.
Lunch was
I
very
great.
good.
It was inexpensive. It was like $50. But so last year, God of War 3 and Uncharted 2, I think, were the big split second. Actually, shocked me a lot. Actually, I walked by,
all of
and
us.
because I hadn't heard about it, obviously, and I walked by, and I was like, I just saw a tower just collapse next to that car,
pretty awesome.
and I was like, that's pretty impressive.
I just feel bad because all my friends keep asking me what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? And it's the same answer I give at E3 every year. I'm looking forward to it being over because you've no idea how much work
It is.
for
It is
me.
true that there's some of these demos and these games we have on our stage have provided challenges, and some of the games that are not being demoed on our stage have provided even bigger challenges, and hence results.
Do you know how hard it is to put that together?
I put together there's this emotional relationship between me and the game starts to develop. That it's kind of like that horrible girlfriend you have where it's really tempestuous and maybe some aspect of the relationship was good, but all in all, it probably wasn't healthy.
The sex was great,
Where
right?
you're going with that. The sex was great. And it's, but then you find out she's a pill addict. I don't know.
The sex was great.
That's how I feel about a lot of games that I have to deal with during E3. And then hopefully, maybe we can reignite the romance sometime at year's end. And sometimes I just do, and I'm like, oh, that was a bad idea. And ending with that analogy, I want to say my good memory of E3, which is 2001, when they really showed the GameCube for the first time. That was the first time myself and Ryan Vance, who I worked with at Tech TV, and Matt Kyle, who's still here, we somehow managed to talk Tech TV into broadcasting that press conference live. And of the 3 press conferences, that was probably the dumbest one in terms of ease of broadcast because it was at the bottom of, what's the hotel downtown?
There's a lot of hotels.
There's
down
the
there.
one that
Grand?
no, it was,
hotel.
Yes. Oh,
it's
right.
hotel. I'm embarrassed, but it's the classic old hotel that's downtown where
Fig.
Nintendo. No, not the Fig. Further up the. It'll come to me as I'm telling the story.
Yeah.
But no, this is to contrast what press conferences are now. It was in the basement ballroom of a hotel and probably fit about 110, 120 with standing room. And we couldn't even get a broadcast signal out. We had to jerry rig all these things. And it was like this touch and go experience. But we did broadcast it. It was very exciting at the time, not knowing what the GameCube would turn into, to see all of these games. And we saw the whole Zelda, looking like an adult. And, I saw the Ice Climber guys in Smash Brothers, and I just couldn't believe what I was
Eternal
looking
Darkness.
at. And Eternal Darkness. I mean, it was really fun and exciting. And I was so wide-eyed and bushy-tailed doing this exciting, live broadcaster stuff way back in 2001.
Oh, look how you've come.
Yeah. You know what? It's a good day if I shaved during E3 this time.
Nice.
Lucky you put on a T-shirt.
So with that, I'm going to use that as a prompt. Please indulge our ridiculous E3 coverage. Of course, on G4, we're going to be showing all the important press conferences live, and then we're going to be having hours after hours, both Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, of live demos on our stage. Some of the stuff we talked about here, and so much more. Every Night Killed ourselves putting it together.
Do we still have the webcams that show the behind the scenes of the stage where you can see us just like freaking out?
Maybe
we had those last year.
Yes. You see me just going like this. But also,
awesome.
our website,
crying.
g4tv.com/E3. It's going to have a lot of the stuff you're going to see on TV, but then there's all that stuff that you can't get on TV, and you're going to have it here. You're going to have Patrick analyzing his butt off, because that's what he does.
That's what I do.
And Jake is going to have more than half a day on the floor.
He's going to have 3/4 of a day.
And feedback will be on
Yes.
stage.
And most important,
You guys are so
feedback.
considerate.
This show here is going to be live on television both the evening of Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'm doing the math from Pacific Coast time to East Coast time, and it's at 9:30 p.m. East Coast time, 6:30 West Coast. Please tune in. It'll be a very interesting cap to some very, very long days, and I think we'll be having a lot of fun at that. So once again, watch E3 for Christ's sake. Garnett.
Watch E3 for Christ's sake.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
I will be on your show weekend.
Confirmed.
We were going to say Weekend Edition again.
I was going to say Weekend Edition. It's my NPR. I love Scott Simon. He's got to be the best radio host. When does it go up, though?
It goes up every Friday at, well, we promised it at 1, but it's been up by noon Pacific every Friday.
What's an
on
hour?
your iTunes feeds.
On your iTunes feeds. All right.
We'll be covering that E3 as well.
Yeah.
Actually, if you've got a iPhone, check out the Game Center app, which is from GameFly, which is free, but it's got Shaq News' content piped into it. So if you're on the go, you got your iPhone in your hand, open that sucker up. We're going to condense all of our news to really fit that app well, because we think that a lot of people will be looking at it through there.
Because some people can't sit in front of a TV
Yeah.
or a computer screen all day long, but they want to know what's happening. Well,
Absolutely.
Good for you for doing that. Yeah. Congratulations on your new site.
Thanks, dude.
All excited to see what happens, and I'll be joining you in a couple of days.
Hopefully, if you guys like this, let us know. So maybe we'll just do this prisoner exchange every month.
Thanks again. Congratulations on the site. And let's see if maybe we do this more in the future. It was a lot of fun. So me, E3's around the corner. So like a bald eagle, I want to get shot in the face.
Do you play World of Warcraft or one of its 1,000 clones? Do you know what a mob or pug is? Then you'll want to make sure to check out the MMO Report. It gives you all the massively multiplayer online news you could want in a neat little package named Casey Schreiner. Check out all new episodes every Thursday over at g4tv.com/MMO. You're welcome.